All right, class, what information do we know? Degrees or radians? What's a full rotation on radians? So we're not going to write 360 degrees. We're going to write 2 pi. Right? It's just a full rotation. And then our given angle is 13 pi over 6. And if you circle that words, least possible positive means that our answer has to be between what? It has to be between 0 and 360, or we don't have degrees now, we have what? We have radians. And remember, this is interval notation. I'm not including 0. I'm including 0, but I'm not including 360. Right? You're trying to get something slower. So watch this. So between 0 and 2 pi, and just to give yourself an understanding, I want to make this a fraction because I have something pretty big, and I'm not quite sure how far it is away from it. So you can make, how do you make 2 pi a fraction? Okay, you put over 1, and now I want a common denominator of 6, so I'm going to have to multiply that by 6 over 6. So if you multiply across, what do you get? 12 pi over 6. Do you see that? So we're going to make, let's move that down. And we already did ourselves some work. So class, I have a question. Is this between 0 and 12 pi over 6? No, it's not. This is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 11 pi over 6, 12 pi over 6. This is bigger, right? So 13 pi over 6 plus, how many rotations do you think we're going to have to do? Positive or negative? Negative. Sorry. So we have 13 pi over 6. We're going to do a -1 rotation. And then basically we're converting this to pi, which we already did, to kind of give you guys an idea that this is 2 pi over 1. We multiply it by 6 over 6. And we did that so that we can get an equivalent fraction of 12 pi over 6. So class, -1 times 12 pi over 6. That gives you what? -12 pi over 6. And then 13 minus 12 gives you 1. 1 pi over 6 is your answer, or pi over 6. What does that mean? Pi over 6 is coterminal with 13 pi over 6. Okay? Alright, this one's going to be kind of awkward, but we're going to do it. We're going to draw the picture, but now we're going to do it with radians. I'll start with degrees because it's really familiar, and then the radians will be new to you. And basically our goal is like, oh, Mr. Ring, is there a faster way of organizing this information? The answer is yes, on the unit circle. Alright, let's review kind of like yesterday's idea. Put your finger where we start. Where's our starting spot? Our starting spot is right here. I haven't moved anywhere, class. How many degrees is this? 0 degrees. To go positive, I have to go which direction? Clockwise. Okay. This one we didn't talk about yesterday, so I just want to introduce it. This is called quadrantal angles. Everyone say quadrantal angles? It's just a fancy word of saying the quadrants, right? There are 4 quadrants. So if I move my ray and I terminate right here, it's on the angle. So we already know that from here to here is how many degrees, class? 90 degrees. The reason why, because it forms a right angle. So this would be how many degrees? Add another 90. 180. And then add another 90. 270. And if you add 90 more, you get 360. So to review, actually yesterday's idea, 0 and 360 are coterminal angles, right? They end up in the same position. All right, here we go. We're going to do radians now. Here I have 0 radians, but if I do a full rotation, class, let's think about that. A full rotation, how many radians is that? 2 pi. Okay, so if you didn't go anywhere, you have 0 radians, right? And if you do a full rotation, you get 2 pi. Here's the question now. If I do half of a circle, then that's how much? Well, if you take half of 360, you get 180, so half of 2 pi is pi. This is something you're going to have to learn to associate. You're thinking, well, like, Mr. Ing, isn't pi approximately 3.14 radians? It is. So essentially, the whole circle is 6.28 radians, and over here is just 3.14. But we use it kind of like exact in terms of pi. Question. What's half of 180 degrees? 90. So what's half of pi? We say pi over 2. Write that. So this is our first time we're kind of going towards the unit circle. And then to get 270, watch what we did over here. We added 90 plus 180 gives you 270, right? Because you just keep adding 90s. So in this case, this one's kind of like 2 pi divided by 2. And if I add these two together, this would be 1 pi plus 2 pi would give us how much? So this would be 3 pi over 2. All right. So let's give ourselves an idea here. This one says pi over 6. Pi over 6. End up something like this. And you can call this angle right here pi over 6. Class, to have a -1 rotation, where's my little binder clip? Come back to me. Here you are. All right. Which direction do you go for a negative angle? Clockwise. Essentially what you're doing here is you are doing a full rotation in this direction, and you end up at the same position. So when you're going this direction, we said positive or negative? So essentially what you're doing is you're just adding a full rotation, which is 2 pi, or 12 pi over 6. Sorry. Yeah. A full rotation would be going in this direction. That's what negative angles are. So 12 pi over 6 plus pi over 6 gives you an answer of 13 pi over 6. So pi over 6 and 13 pi over 6 end up at the same position.